Luke Rockhold has been officially retired for just a couple of months now, but once a fighter, always a fighter. He has revealed that there is one exciting prospect that could lure him back to the UFC. Plus, what insider knowledge does Rockhold have about Islam Makhachev's fight against Charles Oliveira? Stay tuned for all of that and more MMA news coming right up. First up, better off staying home. Someone that knows Luke Rockhold better than most is his training partner and friend, Daniel Cormier. They have been working alongside each other for years now, but DC had some tough love for his friend after he announced his retirement. Former champion Cormier sent a message to Rockhold on his YouTube channel, urging him not to return to the sport. Cormier said that Rockhold earned the respect of the fans and his opponent in his last fight, and it was a perfect way to finish off his career. Cormier said, "Luke, don't come back. It's fine. Go do jiu-jitsu if you want to. You gotta fight the urge." He went on to say that Rockhold would get used to retirement eventually and that he shouldn't try to recreate the glory days that aren't coming back. But it didn't take long for his last opponent, Paulo Costa, to weigh in on the situation. He responded to Cormier saying that Rockhold earned his respect with a flat-out denial. In an Instagram post, Costa quoted Cormier's remarks with the reply, "I didn't say nothing." That will teach you to try to give your friend some advice, DC. But who is Rockhold interested in coming back to fight at the UFC? And why is Cormier so scared of Rockhold getting back into the octagon? Or is Rockhold an analyst now? A normal career step after fighting is moving to the commentators table. Former champions like Daniel Cormier, Henry Cejudo, Michael Bisping, and Dominic Cruz have all made successful transitions into the world of analyzing, and it seems that Luke Rockhold is already making his move. He made his feelings known about who he thinks is the next big thing in the UFC, and he has his eyes on the bantamweight division. Rockhold said that he thinks that Marlon Chito Vera is the complete package and will be a big problem for the entire division. Chito is on a 4-fight win streak, with his last win coming with a spectacular head kick to knock out former champion Dominic Cruz. He could be the key to reigniting interest in the bantamweight division. It looks like Chito's next fight might be against Corey Sandhagen, who called him out to fight for a title shot. Chito's response was, "If he wants it, he can get it." The next few fights in the bantamweight division might show us all if Luke Rockhold really knows what he's talking about, or if he should just stick to fighting. Next up, the Brazilian. Well, that didn't take long. Luke Rockhold announced his retirement this August after losing to Paulo Costa at UFC 277. That capped off a 22-fight MMA career that included wins over Michael Bisping, Lyoto Machida, and Chris Weidman to win the middleweight championship belt. But it was also the third loss that he took in a row, with 2 of those coming via brutal knockout. And at 37 years old, the time felt right to hang up the gloves. But now, just a few months after UFC 277, he is already itching to get back into the octagon. In an interview with Submission Radio, Rockhold said that if the Brazilian dude won the middleweight title, that he might consider fighting again. The Brazilian, of course, is Alex Pereira, who is tipped to be current champion Israel Adesanya's toughest opponent yet. That's because the two have a past in kickboxing where Pereira knocked Adesanya out twice. A new champion could be enough to entice Rockhold back to the octagon, but there's one thing that makes him think twice. That's if he has to fight Robert Whittaker to get there. He said that win or lose, a night against Whittaker is going to hurt a lot. There's just no way to avoid taking damage. Whittaker has been the closest fighter to Adesanya's level over the past few years. Rockhold said that he still maintains his training regimen and is ready for anything, but he will have to revive some of the best form of his career if he wants to beat middleweights like Adesanya, Pereira, or Whittaker. Up next, what made Henry Cejudo change his mind about Alex Pereira? And what does Luke Rockhold know about Islam Makhachev that the rest of us don't? So don't go anywhere. Next, we have Henry Cejudo's U-turn. It takes a big man to admit that he was wrong. Last week, former 2-division champion Henry Cejudo predicted that Adesanya would be knocked out at UFC 281, but his opinion has changed now. So what changed his mind? Cejudo was sure that the striking power of Pereira would prove to be too much for the last stylebender. Pereira's latest knockout was against Sean Strickland, who is not an easy opponent, but Pereira proved why his left hook is one of the most feared in kickboxing when he landed a left hand so quick and deadly that Strickland barely had time to respond. He struggled to get back to his feet before he was quickly knocked back down by a monster right hand from Pereira. At that point, the fight was finished, and the umpire had to jump in before any more damage was done. His 2 previous fights were against much lower-ranked opponents, but from the beginning of his UFC career, it looked like Dana White was sure that it would climax with an Israel Adesanya title fight. Pereira has only had 3 fights with the promotion and 7 professional MMA fights, but Adesanya cleared the path for him by agreeing to an opportunity to clean one of the only stains on his martial arts record. But Henry Cejudo didn't think that Adesanya was making the right move. Pereira has not only beaten Adesanya, but knocked him out cold. Now though, Cejudo has had a change of heart. Speaking on his own YouTube channel, Cejudo said that after analyzing the kickboxing fights, he thinks Adesanya has more of a chance. That's because even in the fight where Izzy was knocked out, he was the one dominating and controlling the fight most of the time. And now Pereira Pereira is playing mind games with Adesanya. The build-up to any fight is important, and not many UFC fighters have more history than Adesanya and Pereira. This means that they understand how each other think, prepare, and train. And after Adesanya posted a video of himself doing some training with tennis balls, Pereira had a hilarious response video. On his Instagram, Pereira posted a video of himself training on a hoverboard. That's right, a hoverboard. He is gliding back and forth as he strikes his training partner. Accompanying the post in Portuguese, he wrote, "Training with a tennis ball is ready. I want to see him train boxing on a hoverboard." It might be a comical video, but it does show how strong of a fighter Pereira is. Even slipping around on a hoverboard, he would probably beat some of the middleweight division. The antics between these two over the last few months have made this title fight one of the most anticipated of the year. And if Pereira does overcome his old rival, it's hard to imagine that Izzy wouldn't get a rematch pretty quickly. It could even turn into a trilogy. So enjoy watching the first of what could be a series of epic fights between two of the world's best kickboxers and MMA fighters at UFC 281. Next up, Makhachev versus Oliveira. Something that counts a lot in the fight game is loyalty. And that's why when Luke Rockhold was asked about his former training partner Islam Makhachev's upcoming fight, he was confident. Makhachev will be getting his first title fight at UFC 280 against lightweight champion Charles Oliveira. Well, technically, Oliveira isn't champion, but after missing weight by just a half a pound and dominating challenger Justin Gaethje, virtually everyone considers him the champ. Even Dana White acknowledges it. And that last fight only solidified the fact that Oliveira is one of the most impressive champions the division has ever seen. So, what did Luke Rockhold have to say about Islam Makhachev's upcoming fight? Rockhold used to train with Makhachev when they were both at the American Kickboxing Academy, but he does have a lot of respect for Oliveira, who he thinks is a great fighter. However, he doesn't think that Oliveira has an answer for someone like Makhachev. Rockhold went on to say, "Islam's a man. He's got man strength. Oliveira's not going to be able to play his games." Clearly, Rockhold thinks that Makhachev will be able to pin Oliveira down and keep him there. As his ex-training partner, he has some personal experience. Rockhold has won 2 gold medals at the Jiu-Jitsu World Championships. So, if Rockhold says that the guy is strong on the ground, he must be. Oliveira has the most submission wins in the history of the UFC. That means that the fight will probably come down to the ground. But who will be on top, Jiu-Jitsu or wrestling? Do you think that Luke Rockhold should return to the octagon, or is he better off commentating on the sidelines? Let us know in the comments below, and thanks for watching, and we will see you again in the next one.